All right. I think I'm not seeing the little symbol.
It says you're recording.
Oh, okay, great. Perfect. Oh, I see it. You get the little cloud with the little dot.
Hi, Aaron.
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
I'm good. Our power went out. I'm not on like a witness protection. Is how I look on here, but
Oh no.
power in the entire school is out. So literally
Wow.
everyone's freaking out because we're all virtual. So there are a bunch of kids enjoying their Friday more than they should right now.
I have two children who would totally be enjoying their Friday much more right about now. So I get it.
Are the co-chairs around? Not yet, right? No.
Unless the call-in number is Matt.
Is that you, Matt?
And I'm on.
Oh.
The call.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good this morning. How are you?
Good.
Representative Namdi, this is Aaron. I know
Yeah.
you're on the phone. We need to get you to do a virtual meeting with the Eastside Apex group.
Let's set it up, sir.
All right, I'll connect with you.
Absolutely.
All right. I see Matt's joined us. Is Tizzy joining us today? Do you know?
Hi. Sorry, I'm a little behind. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. Kelly, you're here. Did Haley finish?
They were just going, so I'll get at the down low from her when I'll jump
Nice.
back on after this.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we will be quick, I think, this morning, right? Jason, are you you're Haley today?
I'm Haley today.
Okay, cool.
So just welcome. This is the agenda. So the first thing I think we wanted to talk about was last night's meeting. How do we feel?
Tired. No. Probably not half as tired as you guys feel. I mean, I'd love to hear other people's thoughts, impressions. I mean, not just consortium members, but UD-DSU team. First impressions.
I think it went pretty well. I think there were some really good questions. I think some of them were questions that might have been answered in some places where it's already in there, but I think it went very well.
That's yeah, and that's kind of
It happens.
Yeah,
It happens. I'm used to that.
And our output has been so great that everyone couldn't
Yes.
possibly
It's
be
a
at every
lot.
meeting and read every piece of material. So that's why we have
Absolutely.
full body meetings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's positive. I definitely. I mean, yeah, I felt like it went about as smoothly as it could have gone. That was the feedback that I got as well from people, who were in the meeting, watching the meeting. I felt pretty good feedback. I mean, I think that was the easy part, of course. Like, there's a part of me which, like, that was like the thing on the horizon where I was like, this is what we have to accomplish. And then I just realized, oh, that's just our work plan, which is immense. So woke up with that realization, but feeling good that at least we have the green light to do that work, which is a huge part of the process. So I felt positive. I felt positive about the engagement. I apologize for breaking the fourth wall of questions because I think that opened a little bit of a, set a little bit of a precedent. But it's hard. It's hard in the Zoom format not to do that. I think it's kind of cool that we can do that, even though it's maybe not ideal. And honestly, it's just because we have so many work group members that it's hard to remember who's a consortium, full consortium member and who is not sometimes. And that's what I did with Chuck. But no, I mean, I still think that was handled well, and I don't think it's a terrible thing if we have co-chairs who can operate nimbly enough to read the chat and respond. I think that's nice. I think it's a nice benefit of Zoom. So, what else? What else did people note?
I like the fact that there was so much productivity
Mhm.
in the meeting. I do have I wonder about the next steps and just how feasible a lot of the pieces are. But I do think it's great after so many meetings of come up with the plans and just having different suggestions to actually vote on these are plans. It felt like it was moving in the right direction. And just to repeat, for those who came on late, our power went off, so I'm not in witness protection. We just don't have power in our building in our school right now.
Oh no, I was going to say, Aaron, this is very dramatic, but
I'm being anonymous right now. That's what I'm doing.
yes, we'll scramble your voice. Sorry about that. I'm sorry that happened. Yeah, I agree. I think for me, looking to next year, what I think is going to be really important for our meeting designs to continue to feel effective is going to be to really taking seriously the implementation and monitoring stuff. So I think, obviously educators has that really strongly. I still think after our last meeting where we kind of talked through it, I think it's a great idea for the other work groups to emulate that. I'm happy to be disagreed with, but to me, it just makes a lot of sense. It gives us accountability for ourselves, and it really gives us something to check in with at meetings in order just to question, are we actually doing more than just writing a report and putting it on a shelf? So I really like
agree.
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Tika.
I was going to say, I agree. In conversations that I've had, I know some community members are concerned about that next step piece, that a lot of times that we talk about the research or the data and our thoughts on it, but we never get to that next step of implementation and then, monitoring and adjusting from there. But then also, I think the meeting went well last night, but how information is delivered, if it's a little bit more consistent in the layout in which it's delivered, then it's easier for people to digest the content.
Yeah. I think I know we talked about that, but I think we could do better to make that happen. But I think I know some of that is because of the different trajectories of the different work groups. But I agree with Tika. I think that's still a really important goal.
And then also, I think too, if we can places where to connect the different work groups together a little more seamlessly. So for instance, in like our social deterrence group, there was a focus on the early childhood and educators in that. And, there was a similar conversation in the educators work group, but they kind of had missed a piece. And so in the end, we were able to, I think before they made their recommendation, at least when I talked to Noelle, go back and add it in. But if there's places to connect a little bit better, to have that done more proactively.
That's really good. Anything else? I know I promised we wouldn't make a super long meeting, but I want to make sure we don't miss any feedback either. Okay. So in terms of next steps, I think the immediate next step is for Matt and I to work with the staff and to some extent co-chairs. Of course, we'll check in with you. You've done your jobs in a lot of ways. And worked really hard, but we want to make sure that we, are able to, I'm trying to think of the right adverb here, but that we're able to sort of simply communicate our recommendations to the folks who need to know to understand their intent and their scope in the legislature, and of course, first and foremost, the governor. So I think in terms of next steps, it'll be Matt and I working with the team to working together, and then talking to the team about making sure that happens, that we have a nice simple document that conveys our asks. Right, Matt? Does that sound right?
Yeah, and you know, it's something that we have to do, at least with respect to the governor's office as part of it, you know, relatively quickly, because they are, you know, as we speak, you know, putting their proposed budget together. You know, I think that, you know, the other one, I think that the different pieces between the different work groups, just circling back to what I think Tika was saying, I mean, there actually is some, there is some sort of commonality between the recommendations that I think will be easier to see once it's all put together in one thing. And I think that that's helpful to, you know, folks that were actually trying to sell on this, because like you said, this was the easy part. And now we're, you know, in the mix and competing with lots of other people and causes for a limited set of resources. So we have to make a pretty compelling case. And I think that, and we have one to make, but I think that it's more compelling when you sort of view everything as a whole. And now we have an opportunity to try to put it all together.
Yeah. So that's a short-term lift that has to be done, so we can start those conversations. You know, and I think on the other side of that, of course, is, and I'm open to feedback on this too, you know, what else do we need to be accomplishing prior to what I assume will be a February meeting? So I think we need to hone in on that. I mean, and I'm talking full body, not that we can't have work groups that meet in January. But, you know, I think we need to be coming back in February with like some real news on a couple of fronts. And certainly the things that we listed as the next steps at the end of the PowerPoint last night. But I think we need to also think about what needs to happen for work groups. So for example, settlement, you need to start meeting, I guess. You need to finalize your membership and start meeting. And I'm not sure, I guess we could, when we talk about work group path forward, we could talk about that as well, but looks like we want to, really hone in on that in future planning meetings. So we don't need to get into it today in all of the particulars, but I think we would need our work groups to think about, correct. We just need to figure out, be ready to start figuring out what the next steps are for each work group. As part of that. Sound good? Matt?
Yeah, if this is maybe getting ahead of ourselves, but depending upon when in February that next meeting is, it might be helpful to invite some of your colleagues in the legislature who have budget writing responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be nice to have them in a public forum, able to discuss our priorities with us, because that's when they will be in the middle of their, are the committee assignments are public now? So when I say they,
The Senate committee assignments are public, the House.
That includes you. So
sorry?
So when I say they, you know, you're included in they, I guess.
Yes, I'm one of them. I'm on JFC this year.
Yeah. So I think it would be helpful for those members who are going to be sitting through hearings with all of the state agencies and people from the public who come to testify. I think it would be helpful for, you know, at that point, we'll know what the governor's proposed budget is. And, you know, for them to be in a public forum, have us be able to share with them, you know, either why we think the governor's budget is terrific, or if to the extent that we don't, what we think, you know, ought to be changed. It might be helpful to have that conversation and get their feedback before they have those hearings with the public, so that you know, that's sort of in the back of their minds when they're having that interaction with the state agencies, or not. But it's just a thought in terms of the timing of it all.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think we would err on the side of early February. I guess we should be picking that date soon, publicizing that date and making sure it's clear to folks to be there. And then I think that gives us a very clear trajectory. You know, if that meeting's really going to focus on advancing recommendations versus some of the other next steps. But I think obviously we want to make sure that we have something to say in terms of how we're moving beyond them as well. So that gives us a little taste of where we're going, I think, with next meeting date and the content of that meeting, which I hope is helpful. Did you guys how did you want to address work group path forward? It sounds like we don't need to go drill in on each one. I don't think so. Okay, unless any chairs have something you really want to say before we move on to part 3. Cool. All right, so public engagement. Just have a couple of questions here about sharing work group information more consistently and tracking our non-public meetings. So those are sort of open questions, I guess. I'm not, how can we share our work group information more consistently? Can someone speak to sort of our deficit in that area so I can think about how we need to address it? Do you just mean like our more effectively than the way we've been posting attachments on the website, or what's the gap there? I'm not sure where the question came from. So, okay, no, nobody knows.
I think that might be going just kind of along with what we've been talking about, just making sure that it's getting out there in a consistent fashion. And my guess is, and this is guessing, kind of what Tika was talking about, in consistent formats and things like that.
Okay, yeah. So maybe that's what, okay, sort of consistently in terms of just the way we frame it, where it's available. And I think, even to that point, I know that Tika and Haley have had a lot of conversations about just how to make sure folks know that this information exists by using social media platforms that we have to just kind of like point to it in a really clear way. So I think that's being addressed, that maybe we can bring that up. We'll obviously bring that up again at a future meeting to make sure that we're on track there. Tika, I don't know if you're busy at work or not, but I hope that sounds right and consistent with what you guys were talking about in the meeting we had.
It does. I'm not sure that where the exact question came from, but that sounds maybe accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And Haley and I should have that document created shortly. I know we had started putting it together, and like I said, I think it's more just because I'm in most of the work groups, or at least pop into most of the meetings. The formatting is a little different. So maybe for people that are frequent to all the meetings, they may also notice that. So I'm not sure exactly where that comment came from, but maybe that's what it was intended for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. The next one is familiar about the Google Doc that tracks our non-public meetings. I know we talked about that, I think, at our last planning meeting. I'm fine with that and trying to keep it populated. I think what we were talking about was just sort of naming what entities, what groups, stakeholder groups we were meeting with, and then offering sort of like high level notes. I think my understanding of the purpose of that was really to share with co-chairs so that we have, so that we're not having conversations and hearing ideas and not sharing them with the relevant work groups.
So my understanding of that also is that the link would be posted on our website, so people in the community could see what conversation or what the highlights of those conversations that were coming with the stakeholder groups, since there wasn't a town hall.
Okay, that's right. Right, to make sure that the stakeholder meetings are as transparent as we can do. I mean, I have no objection to that. I guess I would ask about sort of administering it, or is this something we're putting on Haley's plate? I mean, I guess since she's not here to speak to it, it doesn't sound too onerous to have a Google Sheet that is live linked for viewing.
It does put some responsibility back on the individuals having the meeting to then go in and put their notes in.
It does, yeah.
But
so
once it's created, it shouldn't be extra responsibilities really for Haley or any of
Right.
the other IPS staff to manage. It's really each on whatever individual is having these stakeholder meetings. Because I think from the last meeting, I too thought about comment, because I often talk with different people in the community and they're not official meetings, but bringing that back to when it is groups of folks, at least sharing what some of these highlights of these conversations are.
Okay, no, I think that sounds good. So the setup would be establishing the sheet, having it linked clearly from the website, and then the maintenance would fall to consortium members that are doing this. Which I could see
Right.
there being lag around that, but Matt, I think you agree. Do you have a concern?
Well, my only concern is that however we present it, that it not be represented as some sort of comprehensive list of everybody who has been spoken to about anything that we're doing. I don't want to get into a situation where, one of us has I probably have a conversation with somebody almost every day about this, partly because I just call people up and say, hey, I haven't worked in this area before. Here's something that we're doing that I don't fully understand. Can you tell me what you know about this? And I don't want down the road somebody to say, aha, you guys had a conversation with this person that you didn't put on your list, and what are you trying to hide? And so I just want to make sure that we're not holding out to the public that every conversation that anybody on the consortium has with anybody who's not on the consortium about the consortium's work is on some document that's comprehensive.
Right.
I don't think the intent is to necessarily capture every conversation, but more so some of these stakeholder meetings that are being set up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I just want to, my concern is just with how we represent to people what it is.
Understood.
I like it. And I think maybe we just put a little disclaimer up at the top that it's not not meant to be a comprehensive document of every conversation that's ever been had. I don't know if that's even necessary.
Or just in terms of how we describe it, that this is some of the discussions that have been had with stakeholder organizations. And it's a lot easier to keep track of meetings that we've had with multiple people than it is with, one-off phone calls that we might have had with somebody.
Definitely. Okay, so I think that's a green light on that one. And then, so co-chairs will just need to be alerted to the existence of that. I guess all of the consortium should be alerted to the existence of that. Jason, it looks like the next item is on you.
Yeah, so we talked about this, I think, several times over the last year or so. But I've actually, so most of the teaching that I do, a lot of it is online. And so I've been producing a lot of short explainer videos of complex things, and I've gotten okay at it. I won't say good, but okay. But, Tika, kind of reminded me that this is something that would be helpful for the community. So if we can do like short 5-10 minute explainers of some of the things that we're working on and some of the reasons behind that, I think that might help, make that information accessible. I am available to produce those, but what I could use is someone to, one, recommend content that we need, and experts, among us to go to for that content.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm happy to do a lot of the production. I just need some help with the content.
Okay. I think that sounds awesome. I mean, I love the idea of having, another way to present information to people in terms of the content that we want to prioritize. I mean, I think low-hanging fruit is to talk about why we made the recommendations we made and where they're coming from. I think moving forward, we'll have to think, I guess, about how that works. And again, I think I defer a lot to our co-chairs and assigned staff to kind of see where what the priority message or just issue might be. And especially from experience in work group meetings, where folks need more clarity.
one of the formats I find really works is just kind of brief informational interviews. So I can share an example that I made for one of my courses, but just pose a series of questions to one of our co-chairs or whatever through a Zoom call. I can cut up the video and make it pretty ish, and then we can just post it right up on YouTube and drop it into social media, however we want to do it.
That sounds good. I mean, I think if it's a matter of just inviting, our co-chairs as experts, and then, maybe other members of the consortium as needed, just make it easy enough, as easy as us showing up for a Zoom meeting. That sounds feasible. Anyone have other thoughts on that? All right, so we'll let you lead away, Jason. Love it. Okay, cool. All right, moving right along. Staff reminders. Tell me more.
So yay, we are, the IPA staff is unfortunately in a reduction in force, December 21st to 23rd. But then the university is closed from the 24th to the 1st.
So just pile a lot of work on you next week is what you're saying.
Yep. Yep. Perfectly.
All right. But anything that we want to have in the first week of January kind of done, we need to sort of get it in place next week. Okay.
Is there any way that we could support you guys while you are furloughed?
Great question.
That is a great question.
Okay, so leave next week with some tasks that are on us, I guess.
Yeah. Let me talk with Haley and Jason about that, and maybe we can, we have our meeting next week, so maybe we can discuss or reach out during the week about that. I think the biggest piece is just keeping up the engagement and whatever's needed. Fran wants some Christmas cookies, so.
All right.
But yeah, well, we'll let you know. Thank you, Tika.
No worries.
And I don't know what Jason's schedule looks like.
We're in this weird quarantine timeline. Holidays mean nothing to me.
Aha, be careful. We'll be like, well, Jason, it's Christmas. Where's my video production? Okay. So a little more fluid for DSU. Okay, so with the IPA furlough coming and pretty strict, I think that means that next week we have to figure out what needs doing in the meantime, so that we can make sure that DSU and consortium members pick up any slack as needed. So let's just anticipate that. Cool. Great. Anything else? Pretty good. All right. Now we have a moment for public comment. Do we have anybody who wants to make a public comment? Chat, raise hands, speak up. I think we are okay. Wow, we really did it. 30 minutes. Well done as always, everybody. I feel like I'm definitely going to see you before the holidays, but I'm still going to say happy holidays to anyone who's celebrating now and coming up. So just great work. We'll see about the cookies, and just hang in there and be safe.
They don't have to be chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip?
No, they can be any kind.
Okay, that's good to know. Fran,
Christmas M&M ones are my favorite.
Okay. All right. My wheels are turning. All right, guys, have a great day and a great weekend.
You too.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. Oh my goodness.